It's Friday, February 17th, 2012. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
Remember that much anticipated first visit to Cleveland last year and the reaction from the fans. While LeBron, talking to the media in preparation for the latest return to the Buckeye State, he says he would not rule out playing for the Cavaliers again. Here are some of the quotes. In his discussion with the media, I think it would be great. It would be fun to play in front of these fans again. Again, talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. You can't predict the future. If I decide to come back, hopefully the fans will accept me. Meanwhile, talking about Dan Gilbert in that infamous press release on the night of the decision, he said when he said out of anger, he probably would want to take that back. But I made a mistake, too. So apologetic LeBron James for perhaps trying to defuse the latest game in Cleveland. Let's welcome in Aaron Goldhammer, the midday host of ESPN 850 WKNR in Cleveland. Aaron, what's the reaction to these comments from LeBron James?
Well, it's interesting, Bucci. It's split. I mean, I would say right down the middle, 50-50. These comments came out after we got off the air today, so I threw it out to some of our fans on Twitter, and literally back-to-back tweets, people saying, I think LeBron should go to HE double hockey sticks, and people saying, it's been a year and a half, and I'm ready to forgive him and move on. You know, I think it would depend on the situation, and you're looking 2 or 3 years into the future, whether fans here would actually accept him again, but I think over a long period of time, our culture in general, and even here in Cleveland, one of the most bitter towns of them all, is pretty forgiving, and if he really wanted to come back and really mea culpa like he's starting to do now, I think people would accept him back here.
Bill Buckner returned to the Red Sox eventually. What about the reaction tomorrow night? With these quotes in mind, do today's quotes affect tomorrow's fan reaction?
I think it does a little bit. I think it'll temper it. Listen, I think LeBron has been on a PR campaign all year long to try to help rebuild his image. I think he finally realized he's not good at playing the bad guy. He wants to be likable again. And this is his third trip back to Cleveland, so I think with every return, it's going to be, less and less and less and less vitriol. Certainly there's still going to be boos. Certainly there's still going to be people screaming things, but it's not going to be anything tomorrow night like what we had on December 2nd, 2010.
Any chance Dan Gilbert and LeBron James ever hug it out?
I think there's a chance in the long-distant future, but I know LeBron says he doesn't hold grudges long. I think Dan holds grudges maybe a little bit longer than LeBron would. I do not expect to see them doing a funky handshake in center court before the game tomorrow night. I would expect Dan to be there. He was there on December 2nd, 2010. I think there's a chance that the two of them could talk at some point, but I find it hard to believe that LeBron would ever wear another Cavalier uniform as long as Dan Gilbert's the owner. If someone else owned the team, I think that's when the real possibility of it would open up.
Now, finally, Aaron, is there anything in Cleveland, around Cleveland, LeBron-oriented? A street sign, billboard, poster, anything?
Well, a couple things. Cleveland and Akron are two different places. So in Akron, there's a lot of stuff still that's based around LeBron, and he still does his Wheels for Education event down in Akron. In Cleveland itself, there's really very little. There's now a Sherwin-Williams paints billboard up where the old Nike famous LeBron billboard used to hang. And in the queue, actually, in the bowels of the arena, as you're walking just outside the Cavs locker room, there is a little small, maybe like 2 foot by 2 foot plaque that says LeBron James, the years he played in Cleveland, his all-star appearances and the MVPs. Really, that's the only marking in the arena.
is a portrait of your perception, while your name is a depiction of your legacy. And for Miami Heat forward LeBron James, he got out his toolbox on Thursday and attempted to repair his tarnished imprint in northeastern Ohio when he told reporters he wouldn't rule out returning home again. James's comments can best be described as calculated, coming one day before the Heat are scheduled to take on the Cavaliers for the third time since the infamous trade. Perhaps the comments were made to soften the blow of the criticism that James is inevitably going to face going back to his hometown team and the fan base in which he spurned almost 2 years ago in favor of South Beach, and the PTI crew conversed about a possible reunion for James and the Cavaliers and the possible rationale behind such a decision on Thursday.
But we begin today with LeBron James and a startling revelation. The Miami Heat are in Cleveland today for tomorrow night's game with the Cavaliers. And in a chat with reporters, LeBron said he would be open to returning to Cleveland. His exact words were, quote, "It would be fun to play in front of these fans again. I'm happy where I am now, but I don't rule that out in any sense. If I decide to come back, hopefully the fans will accept me," unquote. Wilbon, what?
Well, Tony, this is not startling. It's been
Really?
happening for a couple of weeks. We talked about this in the PTI newsroom a couple of weeks ago. What is startling, and what puts a point on it, Tone, is that when he says it in Cleveland, saying it there, being in that spot, which is still his home region, Akron, about 45 minutes away, that's what makes everybody go, oh, people around the rest of the league, around the rest of the country aren't going to feel about this the same way. But once he utters that sentence there, then it's game on.
They burned his jersey when he left. They ripped down the sides of buildings when he left.
Still his home.
I think
Still
this
his
is
home.
smart. I think it diffuses the anger. I think he doesn't want to play with the anger anymore. But you'll forgive me if I was a little bit startled by this.
Well, I mean, but why would you be startled now? It's not the first time you've heard it. My point is this conversation's been out there for a month. And there was talk from the James camp and even LeBron shoot-arounds, things like that. Hey, I would not mind going back there. It's my home. I spent time there all summer anyway. And people said, oh, okay, sounds reasonable. But once again, anything LeBron says about Ohio, in Ohio, is a big deal. Now, the question is, Tony, when you look ahead, I mean, how many years are there? If you're going to win not 5, not 6, not 7 championships, how much time do you ever have left to go back to Ohio? And are you sort of used up by then?
That's an interesting question, because there's also talk all around that if they don't win it all this year, Pat Riley would break up that team.
Right.
Now, who's he going to get rid of? He's going to get rid of LeBron because he brings the most back. And
I can't see it.
And LeBron is going to be the one that Miami fans blame the most. There's one other thing here from your boy Dan Gilbert. LeBron talks about him. He said what he said out of anger. He probably would want to take that back, but I made a mistake too. What an olive branch.
Olive branch?
Yes.
So the question is Gilbert, okay, who acted just like a creep, and that's the mildest word I'm going to use when describing how he acted a year and a half ago, is he going to reach out to LeBron in return? I mean, this has got a lot of layers to go, Tony.
You make it sound like it could happen next week.
No,
I don't see this happening.
No. I don't see Pat Riley getting rid of LeBron James. But do I say it will never happen? No, why would I would.
The time-tested theory that time will heal all wounds would certainly be put to the ultimate examination if James did indeed follow through on his desire to end his career where it began. There's no doubt that James has firmly entrenched his professional and personal roots in the state of Ohio, and he feels a certain sense of loyalty to the people and region he once called his own. With that being said, once you've been left at the altar once, the jilted and spurned party is more likely to turn the page and start anew. There's no doubt that James gave the Cavaliers 7 of the best years that their franchise will ever see, reaching the doorstep of the promised land. However, not being able to cash in on such tremendous potential to rewrite the history books in Cleveland like no one has ever done before. With that being said, Dan Gilbert is that jilted and spurned owner who wants to erase any memory of the man he once called his native son. There's no doubt that there is still tremendous animosity and friction between the two men, but with James's comments, it seems like they've came from a nostalgic and homesick puppy. However, yours truly believes he's barking up the wrong tree because the Cavaliers have built a solid foundation on which they hope to build, and it appears that they're more interested in focusing on the future and the present day rather than the past. So for James, it doesn't appear as if he'll be able to go home again. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, report.